Thank you. Thank you everyone who's watching this, who's attending this. We would like to welcome Stefan Namoa on behalf of Carry GTHA. Thank you for taking the time to um, talk to us about LinkedIn, to educate us, and uh, share your views on LinkedIn. I'm here with Nadia. She's going to be the co-host. She will be leading us through this with some really interesting questions. And I hope that at the end of this, everyone should be more educated on LinkedIn and how to use it to their advantage. Nadia?
Thank you, Eustace. Once again, Stefan, welcome to our LinkedIn virtual event organized by Carry Toronto. And just to kick this off, would you please introduce yourself and briefly give us an overview of what you do at LinkedIn, and feel free to include some fun facts about yourself.
All right. So good afternoon, Carry Toronto. My name is Stephen Amoa. I've been on LinkedIn for 3 years. Well, it's gonna be my 3-year anniversary on January 8th, and so not almost there, but close enough. And I'm excited to have this conversation just to talk a little bit more about how LinkedIn can be used to help grow your professional brand, help you find more jobs and more opportunities overall. What I do at LinkedIn, I'm in sales. And so my title is I'm an account executive for one of LinkedIn's premium products called Sales Navigator. So pretty much what I do is I have conversations every single day with different executives, sales leaders about how their own sales teams can be using LinkedIn better to find their buyers and connect with them to win more business. Fun fact about me is I love tea. I don't know if you can see right now, but I'm drinking some tea right now. And so I just discovered a new tea called Sour Sop Tea, and I love it. And so, yeah, I'm a big tea fan.
Well, thank you very much for that. My very first question is, there is an understanding out here that LinkedIn is for, professional purposes, but people must have certain titles in order to use LinkedIn. So who should be using LinkedIn according to you?
Yeah, so in my personal opinion, I believe that any and everybody should be using LinkedIn, whether you are a first line worker or if you are an executive, irrespective, because everybody can get value. What I mean by that is LinkedIn can be used in a multitude of different ways, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But let's say that if I'm in high school, let's say, I can be using LinkedIn as a way to identify new skills to work on. And so LinkedIn has, a product called LinkedIn Learning, which is free for students. So I can be using LinkedIn Learning as a way to double down on my skill set. And I'm going to be sharing some more details in terms of, what are some of the most skills in demand right now. And so as a student or as a frontline worker or first-line worker, I can get value from that perspective. And then again, as an executive, hearing different, industry thought leadership as a way of how I can keep my saw sharp and keep up to date with industry news. I can get that through LinkedIn as well. So in short, any and everybody, in my opinion.
Thank you. And Eustace, feel free to jump in whenever. My next question would be, is it possible to use LinkedIn in order to land a job? For example, as a new graduate, how can we use LinkedIn to our advantage in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. And so as a new graduate, LinkedIn is great to show you what are some best ways that you can get into an organization. And what I mean by that is, let's say as a new graduate, you put on your LinkedIn profile that you went to the University of Toronto, or that you went to Sheridan College, for example. What LinkedIn will do is it'll show you different, leaders that are graduates from Sheridan College, the University of Toronto, that now work somewhere else in your industry. And the reason why that is so important is because you can now have an relatively easier in by saying, hey, Madam President at this organization, I see that you're a fellow Sheridan Bear, or you're a fellow alumni. I'm graduating out of Sheridan this year. Would love to connect with you here, any tips, but also most interested in your company, and would love your guidance in terms of how I can navigate that. And so that's an easy way how graduates can leverage their own alma mater or their own alumni network to find new graduate opportunities.
Thank you.
Right. Hey, Stephen, I just want to take us a little bit back just for someone who's never seen LinkedIn,
Yeah,
who probably is lost on what we're talking about right now. If
yeah.
you had to explain what LinkedIn is, um, if you're welcome to share your LinkedIn or a page, just show us the setup, just so that someone who's never seen LinkedIn, has no idea what LinkedIn is, can get an idea and follow this better.
Yeah, yeah. And so LinkedIn, it's the world's largest professional social media platform. There's about 730 million people now that use LinkedIn. But then most importantly, LinkedIn is the number one most trusted social media platform. Okay. Now the reason why that is so important is because if you're a new graduate looking to get your first job out of college or university, every recruiter would do a quick Google search on you first before determining if they want to they want to do their own due diligence to see if you are online. Okay, now typically, what pops up is your Instagram or your Facebook, but also your LinkedIn profile too. Now, your LinkedIn profile will actually be number one because it's that trusted social media platform. So it actually rank you be number one. And so the reason why that's important is because you want your recruiter to see your LinkedIn profile and versus like Instagram or your Facebook profile, which is more on the personal side. So this is why in this workshop today, I'm going to talk about the reason why you should have a LinkedIn profile, but then also how you can beef it up to make sure that you are looking good and having that first digital impression on the recruiter. But then also, just to answer your question directly, how I would describe LinkedIn is it connects you to opportunities. What I mean by that is, in order to be, I guess, like successful, quote unquote, or in terms of progressing your career, you need two things. You need the right networks and you need the right skill set. LinkedIn will provide you that networks. Okay, again, there's over 700 million professionals on it. It'll give you that networking perspective, and I'll talk about different ways in which you can engage in networking on LinkedIn. But then also from the skill set perspective, LinkedIn enables knowledge sharing. People posting, different industry leaders posting different topics, but then again, LinkedIn learning as well. And so that's how I would summarize LinkedIn overall.
Thank you very much. That was a clear explanation of what LinkedIn is. Now, um, I think the question that would be on the minds of most is it free? If it's not free, is there a free part of it? For the part that you have to pay, what advantages do you get? How does one start a LinkedIn account, and what do you need?
Yeah, another great question. So LinkedIn, okay, so LinkedIn is free, yes, and so it's no cost at all to set up your own profile. No cost in order for you to find people to connect with in terms of people in your industry or in the job function that you're trying to get into. So if you want to get into engineering, you can easily search for different engineers. And also you can filter by different criteria. So if you want to find Black engineers that you want to be able to network with to hear their perspective on the industry, that's easy to do on LinkedIn and it's free. Again, if you want to be able to find leaders or executives that went to the same college or university as you, that's also free as well. If you want to be able to monitor different trends in different thought leadership, it's all free. So there is a paid version of LinkedIn. I personally would not recommend it until you start to see value from the free platform. Now, in terms of the paid edition, you get LinkedIn Learning. But then also number two, you also get access to you get to rank higher on the job board on the job. So you apply for LinkedIn. So if I want to apply to Google, for example, if I have LinkedIn Premium, which is what it's called, which is like the paid edition, the benefit I would get is I can rank in the top 10 versus me being ranked on the lower level. Yeah.
No, thank you. Thanks again for the explanation. And I want to point out that something interesting that happened to me actually, and I was looking into an MBA school, and some of the recruiters now take a LinkedIn profile as an initial submission. So that's pretty interesting and useful that you can submit that as a first step. So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And also another, I guess, fun fact, again, like LinkedIn, every 2 seconds, a new person joins the LinkedIn platform. And so we're seeing the highest level of engagement and activity on LinkedIn platform. And so it's a really an opportune time to hear from your peers, but also identify networks that can help you navigate and promote your own career progression, especially as a new graduate.
Since this is a very growing platform,
Yeah.
How can someone build a network? Is it like other like social media apps where you just have to add people randomly and hope that you're gonna land the good ones? Or is there like a way that someone can actually use it to their advantage to build a network that advantages them?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. So I would say two ways in which you can, if you're just getting started off, two ways in which you can start to build, I guess, your community. Number one, you can easily connect, you can identify who in your phone has the LinkedIn profile. And then if they do have a LinkedIn profile, then you can connect to them. So that's relatively easy. But then number two, going beyond that, I would also recommend that you, especially as a new graduate, you should be connecting with your college and university classmates. Keep in touch with them professionally because you probably won't see them often once you graduate, right? But if you have that social context through LinkedIn, as they grow in their career and they become, as they go from, an individual contributor to a manager to an executive to a leader, you also want to be able to tap into the networks 5-10 years from now, because that's going to hold a lot of dividends when you can say, hey, you know what? Hey, we went to the same college 10 years ago. Now you're an executive, I'm an executive. How can we better collaborate? So connect with your college classmates, university classmates. And then from there, when you do get that job, connect with the people that you do meet at your employer as well. Similar situation in terms of people do move jobs frequently, and so you want to be able to find people that you work with, and then track where they're moving, just to have that network in the future, because that networking relationship clout is really, really, really powerful. And you may not see it right now, but it's going to be helpful 5-10 years from now.
Hey, Stephen, I want to trouble you. Hopefully, you have your LinkedIn profile open. If you
Yep.
could share your screen and just walk us, for someone who's never seen a LinkedIn page, just what goes where, how do you set it up? And you probably have the background data to know what if, let's say, a recruiter or someone who wants to connect, what they look at, so that our attendees can get a better idea on how to make it look right for to further their career.
Yep, absolutely. So I'll do two things. And so I did have a deck prepared. It's pretty lengthy, but like it's engaging content. And then once I go through that deck, then I'll share my own personal LinkedIn profile, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay. Okay, so again, this is what the quick agenda I'm going to be going through in the presentation deck. What is LinkedIn? Why should students, new grads, working professionals, why should we be on LinkedIn? And then talking about, your profile, how to optimize it. And then number 4, going beyond your LinkedIn profile, how can you leverage the LinkedIn platform to better engage and then identify opportunities? So really quick, the overall vision of LinkedIn is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. And so there's about 7 billion people in the workforce today. About 3 million out of the 7 million are classified as being workers. And so our vision is to make sure that we are adding value to all 3 billion folks that are in the economic workforce. And then our mission is to help make the world's professionals to be more productive and successful, okay? Now, in terms of why students, new grads, working professionals should be on LinkedIn, it's for 3 reasons. Number 1, especially for students, it helps you to connect to the professional world, helps you stay informed, but then also ultimately helps you get hired and build your career. Okay. Now, LinkedIn has some pretty cool data in terms of what we call the economic graph. And so again, about 722 million members, which is, again, we're growing every 2 seconds, which is pretty cool. 55 million companies are on LinkedIn, 14 million jobs, over 36,000 skills available through LinkedIn, 115,000 schools, and 358 billion plus in terms of knowledge that's transferred on the LinkedIn platform. Okay, so this gives you a bigger idea of the power of LinkedIn. So now I just want to talk about your profile and the reason why you should really focus on optimizing it. And I'm going to showcase some hacks and tips about how you can better get noticed through your LinkedIn profile. Now, before I delve into the more tactical stuff, I want to show this over here. Okay, so maybe the host between maybe you both can answer this question. Between these two people, so they're the exact same people, they're the exact same person. Who do you think a recruiter would more likely reach out to? The person on the left or the person on the right?
I would say the right for sure.
And how come?
Well, there's more content. There's more information on their page compared to the left.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's bang on. It gives me as a recruiter more context in terms of who you are and what are you looking to do as well. And so definitely the person on the right has a optimized profile. And now I'm going to be walking through the different steps about how each and every one of you can be doing that as well. So firstly, when thinking about setting up your profile, of course, you want to be able to add a profile, a photo. So you want to add a photo of your profile picture, but then also on your background as well. So some tips and like some best practices would be have a shoulder up headshot as part of your profile picture. And then for your background, it could be a landscape of yourself or a quote that you live by or something, a personal mission of yours as well. Okay. So this is like the first step and the most important one is because profiles with a photo get 21 more times more profile views than not having a profile picture. Number two, of course, you want to add your education. This is really, really important because again, this is how you're able to map out who went to the same college or university as you. So make sure that you link that as part of your profile. And if you have any academic awards or any clubs that you're part of as well, you definitely want to add that as part of your education. Number three, so you also want to be able to add in your work experience. Okay, and in this case, again, if you're coming out of college, university, these titles over here will probably be a bit more fitting. So whether you were an intern or if you were, part of a student club within your college or university, you definitely want to put in, what the student club does, and then what was your role as part of the Director of External Affairs? Like, what did you do and what impact have you had on the organization? And the reason why you want to do this is because you want to include different keywords so that when a recruiter looks for somebody that has, leadership skills, if I put that, I had strong leadership skills in either of these two, then when a recruiter is doing a search on LinkedIn, my profile is going to be more likely to appear. Okay. You also definitely want to add in your volunteer experience as well, because this is a good way for recruiters to identify some sort of commonality that they have as you. And so if you volunteered for Carey, or if you volunteered for the Ronald McDonald House or whatever it may be, you definitely want to put that in there because it's a good opener in conversation. Because the recruiter wants to know you just beyond work. They also want to know what you're passionate about outside of that as well, outside of work in school. Okay. And so I'm going to move on to the next part. So you definitely also want to add in skills too. And so once you add in skills, it's going to be important to get endorsements from your connections. And so if you put in leadership, public speaking, et cetera, again, this is a good hack as a way for recruiters if they're trying to find a new entry-level person to come into the organization. They're going to do a keyword search to find somebody who has high leadership skills. And if you're highly endorsed and have that on your LinkedIn profile, then it's going to help you rank higher as part of the recruiter's list. And then also your summary. It's really, really important to humanize your LinkedIn profile. So this is kind of like your elevator pitch. You want to keep it short and concise. in this case, you probably say, hey, talk about who you are, what you're passionate about, and then a call to action. So that, and I'll showcase this on my own LinkedIn profile after this presentation. So that's that in terms of optimizing your LinkedIn actual profile. Now, once your profile looks the part and is good, the next thing you want to do is be able to network, okay? And again, the first thing you want to do is you want to be able to start mapping your future with the alumni tool. And so you can, again, identify, if you search for your university or college within LinkedIn, you can then identify which people went to your college or university that now work at JP Morgan and Chase, or that work at Google, or even at LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a way to get a conversation with them to find out the ins and outs about the company, but also as a way to quickly kind of get the inside scoop from somebody that's likely would have that conversation with you just because you both went to the same college or university. And then what you want to do is you want to follow companies that you're interested in. So if I am interested in Snapchat, if I'm interested in Pfizer, or if I'm interested in Google, for example, I definitely want to follow these companies as well, because I want to see what they're posting. I want to see if and when they're hiring. And so I want to get all these updates being pushed to me so that I can better navigate how to go about different opportunities for the companies that I would want to work for. Okay, and then of course from there you can explore different jobs, and then you can set different alerts as well. And so if you're looking for a journalism job, or if you're looking for a media job or a engineering job in Toronto or in Vancouver, you can set that up through LinkedIn platform and get alerts being pushed to you based on the parameters that you set. You also want to follow different influencers on LinkedIn. And so again, there's a lot of content from different leaders, a lot of hacks that they share in terms of how you can be doing things better overall. And so by following them, you can now get alerts every time they post something. And I've find this to be really, really helpful, at least for myself, being in sales, following different sales leaders to hear how they're keeping the saw sharp, how they are bettering themselves, and just knowledge transfer. How can I identify what other leaders are doing and then incorporate that into my own personal life as a salesperson? And then lastly, again, a big part of the value of LinkedIn, especially as a student or as a new grad, is being able to learn new skills. And so in 2019, these are the top 5 most in-demand soft skills: creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and time management. And so imagine being able to take a whole course on how to be able to spark more creativity through LinkedIn Learning. Or even aside from this, if you've been able to identify any gaps or any things you want to get better on yourself. So for example, for me personally, what I'm trying to do better is I want to have better executive presence. I want to have better communication. And so what I'm doing is I'm being intentional on taking different learning courses from LinkedIn Learning as a way to bridge that gap and be better from those 2 perspectives. And then in terms of the most in-demand hard skills, these are like more of the cloud computing, AI, people management, analytical reasoning, and then user design, UX design. Okay, and yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of, we talked about what is LinkedIn, why students should really consider getting a LinkedIn profile. And then we also talked about how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. So now what I want to do is I just want to quickly go through my own profile and then share some different tips and tricks as well. Before I get into that, any questions?
No, looks good so far. Thanks for the presentation again. Yes. Yeah, you can go on right now. I'll bring in questions. There's one question on the tab here. It's asking, what can you do to optimize or use your LinkedIn to the maximum?
Yeah, so I guess what I just showcased is a great way to optimize your LinkedIn profile by intentionally putting in different keywords, like creative. So what I personally would do is So that list of the different top 5 in-demand soft skills, creativity, adaptability, et cetera, I'll use those 5 keywords intentionally and then, put them multiple times in my LinkedIn profile, because when a recruiter is doing the search for people, again, my name is going to pop up higher on the SEO standings. So that's a great way to kind of hack the system in a way. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those that have never seen the actual LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn before, this is what the platform looks like. I know that it looks like there's a lot going on, but it's actually it's not that bad in terms of the content and stuff. And I'll talk to you the reason why. So this is my home feed over here, and so as you can see, I'm able to find out what my colleagues are liking in terms of what they're engaging with. As I scroll down slowly, I'm able to see any jobs that are being pushed to me, so jobs recommended for me. I'm able to see people I'm connected with, what they're sharing as well. Okay, and then also different courses from LinkedIn Learning that's being pushed to me. Okay, now I'm going to hit on my profile picture, so on the top right, I'm going to hit on View Profile. Okay, and then now this is my personal LinkedIn profile. Okay, so again, I have my profile picture right over here. And then for me personally, for my background, I chose to use my company's value proposition because, for me being in sales, I want to make sure that every time a company visits my LinkedIn profile, they know exactly what I can do for them. So in this case, if an executive comes to my LinkedIn profile, he or she knows that I can connect I can help them connect with their customers' new reality through LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So as I scroll down, for me, what I'm doing is I'm being intentional about having different keywords in my title. And so I put in my title as my account executive or sales at LinkedIn, but then also my value proposition. And so in this case, again, if an executive is looking at my profile, she knows that Steven can help her sales team with virtual selling to win more business faster. So it's really, really clear. As I scroll down, here's my own about page. Okay, talking about what I'm passionate about, what I do today for work, and then a call to action. Send me a message if you want to discuss any of the above. Over here for the featured section, it's also really good to put in any content or collateral that you are personally featured in. And so I was part of a panel a few months ago, so I included that. I've included some things I've done for the LinkedIn Toronto Black Inclusion Group, so that people, again, can really get a better understanding of how I can add value to their organization. And it really humanizes the profile. As I scroll down slowly, I have my experience over here. And so again, it shows my current title, what my company does, and then I've added some extra links so it can have more media, and also respect the fact that people learn in different ways. So some people would prefer text, some people prefer pictures, some people would prefer videos. And so making sure I have a multitude of different ways to really resonate with anybody that's coming to my profile. Okay, and then let's go down slowly, put in my education as well. Okay, and any LinkedIn Learning courses I've taken, I've also added that on my profile. The volunteer experiences I've been a part of, and so again, being the co-lead of the Black Inclusion Group, but then also I did some guest lecturing at my university, so also including that. Here are some of the skills that I've been able to identify and I've been able to get endorsed. And now this last part over here is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Recommendations, and I think that it's really overlooked. So, and I actually just started to be intentional about asking people for recommendations, and I wish I did so before, but I mean, it is what it is. So I've been doing so more since July, and it's been really, really helpful. So in this case, if you're a student, you should be asking, if you're doing a group project, you should be asking your peers if they can recommend you on LinkedIn for that group project. Now, the reason why is because this recommendation section over here is good for social proof. Okay. And so people are like, giving you a testimonial. And this, as a recruiter, if you see that this person has a lot of recommendations, it's going to help them feel more trust and or would want to be more inclined to reach out to you. Because if other people are saying, hey, Rice is amazing, Imanzi is great, et cetera, then of course, I'm going to be a lot more inclined to reach out and be proactive. So in my case, for any of my clients that I work with, if I feel as though I've been able to help out their team, I'm going to ask them for a recommendation. So in this case, JT, who is the CEO at this company, I worked with him and his team, and he gave me his recommendation. So if other CEOs come to my page and they see this recommendation, they're going to be more inclined to want to have conversation with me and do business with me as well. So it's really, really important. I think this is really underused. So yeah, I guess, and for anybody that's a student, get recommendations from your peers on any group projects. If you volunteered anywhere, get recommendations from that person that's leading the volunteering effort, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to pause, and we'd love to hear what other questions folks have.
Right. We have a question from Terry Joseph asking, can you show the screen reflecting hard skills?
That's what he just did.
Oh, I think they asked it again. All right.
Is it this screen over here that he wants, or am I off?
No, I believe yeah, that is the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so this updates on the 28th of December every year. So an article is going to come out later on in about 2 weeks to showing the most in-demand hard skills for 2020, and also the most in-demand soft skills for 2020 in about 2 weeks.
Thank you very much for the presentation and also sharing your page. Looks like you've definitely done a really good job updating it and keeping it having enough information that, say, if a recruiter had to look at it, they would know what you're about. I would just like to add that, to me, recommendations on LinkedIn are almost like reviews on Google. If you are looking at a product, if you're looking at something, when it has positive reviews, you tend to navigate towards it more than the others. So definitely recommendations. I know some of them come from professors at a university or clients, so it is a good way to it's a good thing to have on your profile for sure.
100%. And I just realized I forgot one small thing about your profile. So I'm going to share my screen again. So as I scroll up slowly, so another cool thing about LinkedIn is, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to probably later today or tomorrow. You can actually have you can actually pronounce how you can say your name, so that people would know. And so, example, like my name is Stephen Amoa. I get some people. So I've had people call me Stefan, Stefan, Stephen, or sorry, Stefan. So if I had that feature enabled, it would say Stephen Amoa, so people can know how to pronounce my name properly. And I'll show you what it looks like, for example. So in this case, this gentleman over here, he enabled it, and he, as you can see here, he has that little microphone icon. If I hit on that, it'd say Morgan J. Ingram.
Another feature on LinkedIn is who's viewed your profile.
Yeah.
The way I use it is, if someone interesting has viewed my profile, I add them, but it ends there. So I don't know if you have any recommendations on, first, if you can explain to the people that don't know what that is, and also how you can use it to your advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say that let's say I'm a student and I'm trying to get my first job out of college or university, and then I reach out. Let's say I want to get a sales job as an example, and I reach out to the sales manager at Google. What I would do is I would want to look at the recruiter's, either the recruiter's profile or I can look at the sales manager's profile. So in this case, when I just showcased the example of me looking at Morgan's profile, what happens is Morgan will get an alert saying, Stephen Amoa is viewing your profile. Yeah, let me share my screen just to showcase what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is my LinkedIn profile. And so over here on the very far left, it shows you who viewed your profile. This is actually the #1 most clicked button on LinkedIn. People click on this button more than any other button on the platform. And it's gonna show you, okay, which people on LinkedIn are looking at your profile. So in this case, I have this director for one of my prospects or my clients. He looked at my profile. I've had this professor that I volunteered with. He looked at my profile, et cetera, et cetera. So all these folks over here have viewed my profile. And then what I can do now is I can now hit on connect and then send over an invite. I probably shouldn't have done that because actually, yeah, it's cool. So yeah, I can hit on connect and then I'll send an invite. What I probably would recommend instead of doing that is if I had to hit on Axel's profile, for example. Now, if I scroll down slowly, or I should just, this is not a good example. Let me go back one actually. Let me go to this guy over here, Benny. Okay, so if I hit on connect over here, what I want to do, if it's somebody I don't know, what I want to do is I can either hit send or I can hit add a note. What I want to do is hit on add a note so I can just provide some context as to the reason why I want to connect with them. So in this case, I would probably say, you know, hey, Benny, and I'll keep it casual. I'll say like, you know, hey versus hi, just to be a little bit more casual. You know, saw that you viewed my profile. Would love to connect with you and learn more about your role within Dematic. And then signature, Stephen. Okay, so in this case, instead of me sending over a blind connection request, I'm adding some sort of context. And in doing so, I'm gonna be 70% more likely to have him connect with me and accept my connection request versus me sending over a blind connection request. It's not high in terms of people actually accepting it because there's no context as to how you know them or the reason why you want to reach out. Now, in this case, if I was a student, and this again, I want to reach out to a recruiter or a sales manager at Google, what I would do is I would say, you know, hi, Mrs. Sales Manager. I'm really interested. Well, in this case, I probably would insert some sort of, you know, commonality. And so again, using the example of, I saw that we're both, you know, Brock University alumni. I'm really looking to explore how to get into Google. Would you be open to connecting with me so that I can be as part of your professional network? And so in that case, again, I have a stronger context and a stronger way to connect with these people versus me sending over a blind connection request and not hearing back.
One more question. I know for most people who are looking for jobs, just thinking about switching jobs, there's Indeed, and then there's LinkedIn. So there's all these platforms. And my question is, if I have my profile and I have everything on LinkedIn, would that suffice if I see a job on LinkedIn that I can apply through LinkedIn and expect a hiring manager to see that? Because it's just whenever you're applying, you're always scared. What if they're only looking at resumes coming from Indeed? Is just LinkedIn enough? So from what you're seeing in the background, would you say that would suffice?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is the #1 platform for hiring. But then also, if you apply for a job directly through LinkedIn, yes, the recruiter will get it. And actually, one of my jobs I got out of university, it came through LinkedIn by hitting apply through LinkedIn. And so I personally have found a job with that feature. And so, yeah, and then again, it just really humanizes the whole person versus, Indeed. You can't, aside from the resume, you can't get a better understanding about what this person cares about. Because I mean, for Indeed, just putting your resume pretty much, but you can't understand, really, aside from resume, you can't really get that rich media like the pictures, the videos as part of your profile as well, et cetera, to really bring it all full circle.
We have a question from Kizito asking, what would be your advice for someone who wants to build an audience through content such as videos and articles using your platform?
Oh, that's a great question. Great question. So in terms of posting on LinkedIn and starting to enable thought leadership, there's 3 things that you should be doing. Okay, so number 1, you should be sharing. I would say that the best practice would be to share content at least once a week. Okay. Now, in terms of the types of content you should be sharing, it should be threefold. You should be sharing content on your function. Now, what I mean by that is if you're in engineering, you should be sharing content on the engineering role or the engineering function. Or in my case, I should be sharing content on the sales function. And in that case, I'm giving value to the community. And then I'm also going to be building my network because I'm going to be that trusted advisor or that thought leader. So number 1, you should be sharing based on the function or the job that you're in. Number 2, you should be sharing content based on the industry that you're in. Okay. If you're in the retail industry, again, that thought leadership from the industry perspective, people are going to trust you more and you're going to build a community. So number 2 is the industry thought leadership. And so in my case, again, because I'm in like the industry or internet or the tech industry, I should be sharing different things about the future of tech or the future of whatever. And then number 3, you should be sharing content on either yourself or about the company. So that should be deprioritized. And so in terms of the best practice, it should be 40% of your posts should be on the function you're in. 40% of your posts should also be in the industry you're in. And then 20% should be about your company or about yourself. But then also, just to answer the other part of that question, video is also an emerging way to communicate on LinkedIn. Not many people are doing it, but the people that are doing it are getting a lot of engagement and their views are getting a lot. And so I see that it's an amazing trend right now to jump on because not many people are doing it and it has a lot of reach on the platform.
So that leads me to my next question. Would that be part of the trends post-COVID or going into 2021 that you would recommend, or what are other trends that we should be expecting or should be getting in for 2021 and life post-COVID?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. So yeah, video is definitely the #1 trend. Not only video for your actual posts that you do on those 3 things I mentioned, but then also video based on the messages you send out to anybody, any of your connections. Okay. Now, one thing to know is that LinkedIn also has a mobile application in addition to the regular desktop that I just showcased to you. Now, you can send out videos to your connections over Messenger through the mobile application, but not through your computer. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is, give me 1 second. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I go to my LinkedIn app right now, and I hope that you folks can see this. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Probably not. It's too bright. Can you guys see it? No?
Maybe if you put it a little closer.
Okay, hold on. Can you guys see it? No?
Not entirely.
Okay, sorry. Let me try one. Let me just try to dim the light real quick. Hold on. Because it's really, really important. No, that's not any better. Okay, anyways. So what I'm showing is, let's say I'm talking to, I have a chat with Imanzi on my LinkedIn mobile app, what I can do is I can send him over a voice note directly to his inbox, or number two, I can send him a video directly to his inbox. That's the new trend in terms of being able to communicate with people is through voice and video. And so not only on the regular platform and in terms of your posts, but also one-to-one direct messaging, it's unique and people have a higher response rate and are more engaged if you engage through voice or through video through direct messaging. And so I think that's the future of what LinkedIn looks like post-COVID.
Justus, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I was actually just wondering, especially now that that you're in sales, you have more data in the background. When it comes to your projections with AI and what LinkedIn will be able to do and how they can filter filter preferences from recruiters. Is there any other thing that's in the works at LinkedIn that's going to help in the future?
That's a great question. That's a great question. So not that I know of in terms of the company overall, like what's going to be happening in terms of future product releases and stuff. I mean, I've had my own personal recommendations to the leadership team. I think that, LinkedIn can be doing, like one example, one idea I had was if, LinkedIn were to partner with different book publishers. And so let's take like Malcolm Gladwell, for example, who's a big Canadian author. If he has a book called Talking to Strangers or Outliers, for example, and then if he were to say, hey, here's my suggested LinkedIn learning path. When you buy my book, you get access to LinkedIn for free, as an example, LinkedIn learning for free. I think that would be extremely powerful in terms of not only do you get knowledge from the physical book from Malcolm Gladwell, but you're also able to continue on that resource and that learning on the online platform through LinkedIn Learning. So yeah, I pitched that idea. So I don't know what they're going to be doing with that, but to answer your question directly, I actually don't know. I'm not sure what the future looks like.
All right, we have a very interesting question here. Are pictures, the LinkedIn pictures that we post, important? Do they have, what would you say about that first impression? And is there a wrong thing to say in one's profile?
That's a good question. Okay, so yes, the picture definitely matters, 100%, 1,000%. So it should definitely be a professional picture. Now, when I say professional, I mean, you can still wear like a t-shirt, but like it should still be a professional picture in terms of how, you should be smiling, you should have a clear headshot, but you can still be in a t-shirt and still considered to be okay for the LinkedIn platform. You don't have to be suited up and all that stuff. It's not necessary. What you should not have is like, a picture of you at a party, at a wedding, et cetera, et cetera. It's not really appropriate. And so, yeah, I'll say that. Now, in terms of the other question, is there anything that is not okay to have on your profile? That's a tough question. I mean, are there specific examples? Maybe that person can share like 3 things that they have in mind, and I can better answer that question, because I don't really know how to answer that question. Because I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, of course, there's things that you should not be saying. Like, of course, you shouldn't. Maybe you don't want to share your political beliefs on your LinkedIn profile, or
There you go. Something along those lines, like political beliefs.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So I'll probably say, maybe that's not appropriate to have on your profile. I'll probably say that's probably the biggest thing is probably you want to avoid that. Yeah. But yeah, if the person who asked the question has any other specific questions or examples about that, I think I could better say if it's yay or nay in terms of having that on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that was as it came. Yeah. Justus, any more questions your way?
No, think I've asked quite a few. No, this is very interesting. Thanks for answering all these questions.
How can I just
Better insight in LinkedIn.
Of
Sorry,
course,
what do you say?
I have a question. So Carry Toronto is usually it represents the youth. So as you know, usually the youth they know how to use other social medias like Snapchat, Instagram, and we know that LinkedIn is different. And a lot of youth, I would say, they're a little bit skeptical or scared. For example, like you know how people are used to, let's say, some privacy settings. Let's say on Instagram, how you would set privacy, and now when you go on LinkedIn and it notifies you about like this person is viewing your profile. Most
Yeah.
people, what they do because they're not aware of how it works, they just go and set off the privacy setting. Is that something you would suggest? Because I don't know if there are creeps on LinkedIn or if everyone is professional because creeps are everywhere.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a great question. So I would say I would recommend keeping your profile being public in terms of, again, if I were to look at Manzi's profile or Nadia's profile, I want them to know that, hey, Steven's looking at your profile because, again, if I'm looking at your profile, I want to, there's a reason, right? I mean, of course, there may be some creeps and stuff, but like for the most part, being a professional platform, I'm trying to identify if I could be of help or value to you, or vice versa, if you can be of help or value to me. And so I want you to get that notification, get that alert. And so I personally would recommend having the profile being public. Typically, recruiters are the ones that have their profiles being anonymous. And the reason why is because like if you're trying to like, I guess like poach or get somebody from like a competitor, you don't want to be known that you're trying to research new candidates from a different company. And so it's typically recruiters that would be, on the private mode or anonymous.
Yeah, that makes sense. So basically, you would suggest everyone should be public.
I personally would recommend that. Yeah.
Everyone who's looking for work or just everyone in general? Because let's say I have already a job and I'm not looking into it, but maybe I just want to network with career-minded people or people in the same field as me. But I don't want anyone to just keep reaching. Is there any like privacy setting where I could just set like specific this type of people?
In that case, then this, what you'd have to do is you'd have to go back and forth in terms of turning your privacy settings on and off. There's no real way to set different parameters based on who can see that you looked at their profile in an automated way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We have some questions still in queue, and I would like to encourage everyone because we don't have much time left. But if anyone still has questions, please submit them in advance. Now, a part B of the question that I asked says, if political beliefs wouldn't be great, how about religion or religious beliefs on your profile?
Yeah, that's acceptable, 100%. Yeah.
All right. And then another question from Terry Joseph asking, any suggestions on how to position yourself in the About section? For example, enthusiastic, entrepreneur, etc., strategies or tips on how to best sell your profile?
Yeah, so it should be, again, just in terms of what I shared earlier, it should be under 100 words and it should be your elevator pitch. What are you passionate about? What are you good at? And then also the call to action. And so if I know that I love entrepreneurship, I definitely want to say, the reason why I like entrepreneurship is because maybe at a young age, I like to solve complex problems. So it gives people the context as to the reason why. And then, talk about what you do today. So today, I strive to do X, Y, and Z. Feel free to message me if you have any questions or if we can collaborate and work together.
Thank you. And another question came in. Would you advise someone to put up their resume on LinkedIn? And would you recommend to remove address, phone number, and other personal information?
I would recommend, removing. I would actually recommend. Well, it depends on what you're trying to, what job you're in. If you're in sales, then you probably want to have your email and your number up because, of course, if any prospects want to like call you and stuff is a good way to get inbound leads. But otherwise, if you're not in sales, then it would probably, I would recommend not having it on your profile, your contact details, so you can take that out. But then number two, so what was the other question?
Would you recommend removing address or,
Oh,
sorry, putting up the resume on LinkedIn?
It's an interesting question because LinkedIn is pretty much like your digital resume already, and you can't really upload your resume on the LinkedIn platform. So, yeah, there's no way for you to do that. Yeah.
Okay, I have a personal question in regards to safety and user safety. We have other social apps like Instagram, where you can, for example, report a certain user for content that you do not agree with. Is there like a similar process that LinkedIn has established, especially that we know, so someone already mentioned it, we have, untrustworthy people everywhere. And so what is in place that can help us to prune out people that are not good for our networks?
Yeah. So number one, yeah, LinkedIn is the number one most trusted social media platform. Now, in terms of what that means, similar to the other apps, social media apps, you can also report different posts that you see that may be offensive. And so we're actually seeing that, especially during the political climate, in terms of liberal versus conservative or Democrats versus Republicans, in terms of, being uber to the left or to the right and sharing your political beliefs, or if you were offensive to a oppressed group, LinkedIn would remove that post, but then also, so you won't get banned from LinkedIn, but they will definitely remove your post still, as a way to protect that member privacy, but also to honor the fact that this is a professional platform, and to pretty much just avoid bullying pretty much overall. And then number two, so again, when I talked about adding people on LinkedIn, a big reason why you should avoid just sending out blind connection requests is because if you do that for a lot of people, let's say if you do send out 20 connection requests to different people, you can actually go to LinkedIn jail. So what that means is that LinkedIn will then prevent you from adding anybody else because it's not used as a spam tool. You have to have some context, and so you definitely want to avoid those blind connection requests, because if you do a lot of those, again, LinkedIn will then block you from actually using that as a tool to connect with people anymore.
I got a question for you, Stephen. And this, I think, is more relevant in especially end of 2019, starting of 2020, where you've spoken about political views, religious views, and with what's been happening in the States, with the Black Lives Matter movement, with unfortunately, the political views end up in our lives anyways. And what we saw as an outcome was some companies were taking the lead and sanctioning police brutality and everything that comes with it. So, and other companies, unfortunately, would, if someone posted something like supporting Black Lives Matter, it would be some sort of retaliation, or there wouldn't be an acknowledgement. So at the end of the day, if LinkedIn is working to help recruiters help people in the job search, help people network, unfortunately, that's a big part of us as people. So to me, I would think that view is a part of me. And if you're trying to recruit me, or if you want me to be part of your company, that comes with me. So if I express it at work, then you wouldn't be surprised that I have those views. So how do you balance that on how much is too much to put on LinkedIn and how much is just enough, just so that they know what you're about at the end of the day?
Are you talking about in terms of like your political beliefs, or
Yeah.
just
Just
and
in
so
general beliefs and
Yeah, so you can definitely share your political beliefs on the LinkedIn platform, which is totally fine. It's more so about, I guess, like extremes, if that makes sense. And if there's like, if you share something, okay, if you share like a stat, for example, that's politically related, LinkedIn would also would verify that that stat is a fact-based stat, and so you'd have to link it to an article that shows us. So pretty much avoiding, I guess, in other like lack of better words, like fake news. So you'd have to like link that stat that you do share on your post to something of a credible source to showcase that it's actually real. Um, but yeah, so I'll say that so long as you're not, I guess, calling out, not no, you can call, I've seen people call out, they're even their own employers on the platform. Is more so not bullying a certain group. Then and you also, if you do share a stat that it's fact based and supported, then yeah, you can share anything politically wise.
I see you are you're wearing a BIG. Can we
Yeah.
read more about what is that?
Uh,
All right, a Black inclusion group at LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
would you just briefly tell us about what LinkedIn is doing to include people of color and what exactly that is? Because we are a group of young Rwandans living in Toronto, and that would totally be something that we want to know.
Yeah. So LinkedIn is, so they're doing things in terms of so even so take LinkedIn Learning, for example. So like they made a learning path on diversity, inclusion, and belonging free for every employer. So that was pretty cool in terms of trying to like reduce the belief gap or reduce the knowledge gap or reduce the ignorance that some people may have by enabling them to have free access to verified resources and content through LinkedIn Learning. So that was number one, which is pretty cool. Now internally for LinkedIn, I know that for Black employees, they're enabling a lot of mentorship opportunities to senior leaders as a way to reduce that network gap. So if there's a VP who may not know, if a VP is a straight white male, for example, of course he may not have a lot of Black people in his circle because he did not grow up in that. He didn't grow around Black people.
Mhm.
But what LinkedIn is doing now is intentionally putting that VP with a mentee, with a Black person, as a way to enrich their perspective of what the Black experience is like. But then also, once that person knows better, they can then enable their own networks to put that person in a better position to succeed as well. So that's also pretty cool. But then also for me, again, as the current co-lead for the Black Inclusion Group in Toronto, LinkedIn pretty much, gave us the liberty to add value to the community. Now, what I mean by that is enabling us to do workshops like this for folks that look like me, right? Being able to work with different college and high school students to be I can be a mentor to them as well. So that's more of the external environment. Now, in terms of internally within LinkedIn Toronto, us hosting different I guess back pre-COVID during Black History Month, being able to host, a whole month of West African, East African, South Africa, the whole continent of Africa having different foods, for lunch, which is really cool. Also the Caribbean, the whole Black African diaspora, exposing people to different our culture, but then also being able to celebrate our music, but also recognize Black excellence and Black exceptionalism by different prominent people as a way to, again, bridge that educational gap in terms of, for the, I guess, the majority of our office, which is white, then white people know what we're actually about in terms of a personal but also professional context, so that they can get to know us and that we're able to come closer from them.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah.
I have another question from a Carrie member. They're saying that the reason why they don't like to use LinkedIn is because all they see is people posting dry professional stuff. So they're asking, is it okay to have a personality, like have hobbies and passions outside of work and talk about it just to create meaningful professional relationships? Do you advise that?
Yeah, and again, in terms of what I would recommend in terms of the best practices, like the 40-40-20% rule. So in terms of your own personal hobbies and stuff, I'll put that in the 20% bucket. And again, maybe it's because LinkedIn is not natively built for that, whereas Instagram and Facebook are more so. But not to say that you shouldn't post, I guess, your hobbies and your own personal interests is more so. That should not be that should not be the main thing you're posting. Because people on LinkedIn want to know what value that you can provide to them and vice versa, how they can provide you value. I don't know what value I personally would get if I see your dog every day on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not recommended to put like things that you that helps you relax, because all we do is work. But we have, like, let's say I paint to relax, but
Yeah.
I love it. It's not that I'm looking forward to that, but maybe I would love to do it in the future, but it's not what I'm doing right now. So you're not allowed to put it out there.
Sorry, that like of you painting as an example, and like maybe
Yeah, that's just a silly example. So let's say I paint to
yeah,
relax, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not my job, and maybe right now that's not what I'm looking forward to. But again, it's my passion and also a hobby. But there
Okay.
are painters on LinkedIn too who do it professionally. So if I put that and they see it, maybe it's gonna create that professional relationship that's gonna inspire me of how to do it, let's say full time.
100%, and that makes sense. If I were you, I would post that on LinkedIn. I guess how I'm thinking about it is whatever you're posting, I guess it comes down to also the caption of the post. And so in that case, because you're talking about your passion, that is also enabling you to it's relevant for LinkedIn, because if you are passionate about that and you have the picture in the caption as well, then other painters within the community can also identify that. But then also, even if I'm not a painter, if I know people myself in my network, I can then have a light bulb moment and say, okay, you know what, let me put you in touch with this other person. So I guess it's going to be on more of a contextual basis about how you want to share your hobbies and interests, aligning it to your passion, and then seeing what the community on LinkedIn can do to help enable you to get, to that endpoint that you want to get to.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think onto that question, it wouldn't be, I guess, as bad as walking into your job every day talking about trivial things, but maybe in the 5 minutes, in your lunch break, you can talk about, I don't know, I got married last weekend, or I got a new dog. So those are things that, since we're talking about connections, these are people that that are invested in your, well-being. So they wouldn't really worry, or be bothered to see you painting, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have another question regarding LinkedIn groups.
Yeah.
It's a feature that not a lot of people are using, but could be very beneficial. So would you introduce us to what LinkedIn groups are and how can one join, beneficial groups as to database and information?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question, and it's funny because actually I was talking about this yesterday to my team. In my I don't have any stats or data behind it, but I feel like LinkedIn groups are not as active as they once were. So for context, so pretty much LinkedIn groups, you're able to join a group on any of your interests or your passions. So even if you like painting, there's probably a painting group on LinkedIn that you can join. If you like sales, if you like if you're part of a faith-based, like you're part of a Christian community or whatever, or if you're in the Rwanda community, literally there's a group for anything you're interested in, and you can join that group. Now, the thing is that I've noticed lately that groups are not as active as they once were. So people are joining them, but nobody's actually sharing posts on them. Now, what I was thinking about yesterday, I don't know if you folks have heard of the app called Clubhouse, but it's a new app, social media app that's like a voice-based content. Anyways, I thought that like I'm about to go on a small little tangent, but I think that a good way for LinkedIn groups can be revived if they have some sort of if people are in the Rwanda, let's say, LinkedIn group, people can share different perspectives based on voice-based text versus just regular post. Because I think that's going to be the future, and I think that this new app called Clubhouse is a good validation of that.
All right, checking for last minute questions. All right, I think you've already answered this, but what's the best way to apply for jobs on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so let me share my screen and I can. I can show some strategies. Okay, so let me go back to my home page over here. And so over here, there's a small little icon that says jobs. I'm gonna hit on this. Okay, and now I can literally type in a title or a skill or a company that I want to work for. Or if I scroll down slowly, it's gonna show me, it's gonna give me some recommended jobs based on my profile. Okay, now if I go all the way up, what I also want to do is set up my own job alerts, okay?
Mhm.
And then what I can now do is if I hit on search for jobs. Okay, so then I can now hit on all filters over here. Okay, and then I can now do is filter based on experience level. So entry level, associate, etc., etc. Okay, I can see companies that have posted a job in the past 24 hours, in the past week, in the past month. Any of these companies over here, I can add a company that I'd want to be working for. Okay, I can also identify if it's remote too. And then I can also identify if easy apply. What this means is that I don't have to upload a resume for the job. I can just use my LinkedIn profile and then it will easily help me apply for that job. Okay, I can put the location I want to, the industry I want to as well. Job function. And then once all that is done, I'm gonna hit on show results, salary that one, my salary as well. And then it push to me different jobs based on everything that I just, put in the filters. So that's the easiest way to not only find jobs, but then be able to apply for different jobs too. Okay, but then also again, what I was talking about before is if I go to my university, if I type in my university over here, okay, as I scroll down slowly, I can now identify, if I hit on alumni, it's gonna show me people at my university, where are some of the top places that they work. And so people that went to Brock are, working either mostly at the university themselves or any one of these places. And so if I go to TD, for example, the TD page, or you can type in TD over here, it's going to show me, if I hit on jobs over here, it's going to show me all the jobs that are at TD. But then on top of that, if I hit on people, it will show me these people over here. They used to work, they used to go to my university as well. I can now ask them for any insights about working at TD. What other questions do we have?
It looks like we don't have any more questions. I would hand it to Justus for any closing remarks.
Thanks again, Stephen, for taking your time just to share with us how to use LinkedIn, pretty much LinkedIn 101. I think everyone who attended has benefited from this and will use the skills that we've learned to better themselves. Thanks for helping the Rundis community, Carrie, GTHA. We really appreciate your time and your insight and sharing your knowledge on LinkedIn. You took time on a Saturday to talk to us, so thank you very much.
Awesome. This was fun. Thank you all for your time and for the opportunity. As a next step, yeah, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, connect with me. And yeah, if I can do this again in the future, let me know. But thanks a lot. This is really, really helpful and fun.
And to
Right.
everyone who attended, thank you very much for your time, and hopefully you've learned something. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Guys, good job, good job, good job.